Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Dennis Adegunloye. The headlines. 193 nations converge on New York for 78th session of United Nations General Assembly. President Tinubu leads Nigeria delegation. Russia in the eye of the storm over invasion of Ukraine as World Court begins hearing on crimes against humanity. And President Bola Tinubu nominates 2 ministers for youth development. The United Nations General Assembly is the main policy-making organ of the organization, comprising 193 member states. Kolo Mohammed has more on the 2023 edition of the General Assembly.
The 2023 United Nations General Assembly is scheduled to hold between the 18th to 26th of September 2023. It provides a unique forum for multilateral discussions of a full spectrum of international issues covered by the UN Charter. Each of the 193 member states of the United Nations have equal votes. It was at successful General Assemblies that key decisions are made. This include appointment of Secretary General, electing non-permanent members of the Security Council, as well as approving the UN budget. Sitting arrangements in the General Assembly change for each session. During the 78th session, North Macedonia will occupy the first seat in the hall, including in the main committees, followed by all other countries in English alphabetical order. Discussions on improving global issues will not be complete in the days regularly allotted for the General Assembly. This explains the reason most leaders arrive for the Assembly a day or two before the slated dates for commencement to engage with like minds regarding pressing personal issues that may not be captured for discussion at the General Assembly. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, is off to New York, United States, to attend the 78th General Assembly of the United Nations. The minister, while in New York, is expected to meet with the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, on Monday on the margins of the UN General Assembly. The meeting, which at the instance of the U.S. government, will focus on partnership for Atlantic cooperation. The U.S., through the Initiative for Atlantic Cooperation, is working to create a multilateral forum to bring together coastal Atlantic states around a set of shared principles and advance shared interests across the entire Atlantic area. The Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy will pursue the implementation of SDG 14, which is essentially about the sustainable utilization, management and preservation of ocean resources for economic development and improved livelihoods. At least 6,000 people have died, mostly in the eastern Libyan region, after flooding caused by Storm Daniel hit the area. Kolo Mohammed brings us details of aid sent by the World Health Organization.
The World Health Organization has dispatched 29 tons of aid to Libya following deadly floods that killed thousands. The supplies, believed to be enough to cater for almost 250,000 people in health needs. The shipments reflect an intensified emergency response to the unprecedented flooding in eastern Libya in the aftermath of Storm Daniel. The supplies include essential medicine, trauma, and emergency surgical supplies and medical equipment. There are also body bags for the safe and dignified movement and burial.
Because there may be people dying on daily basis because they do not have access to life-saving medicine.
At least 6,000 people were killed and thousands others missing following deadly flooding. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
Thousands of Czechs have rallied in the capital Prague, demanding the government's resignation over high energy and other prices, as well as the war in Ukraine. The protest united far-right with far-left forces and was the third of such rallies at Prague's Wenceslas Square this year, organized by a new political party known as PRO. The demonstrators chanted repeatedly chanted a message for the five-party ruling coalition to resign, and some demanded that the country quit NATO, saying that the Czech Republic had to veto any attempt by Ukraine to join the Western military alliance. Protesters also criticized the government's record on the economy, which has suffered a double-digit inflation and underperformed compared to its European counterparts. Head of the populist group, Jindřich Rekel, blamed the government for following orders from Brussels and criticized the country's support for Ukraine and its close ties with the United States. Rekel criticized the Czech Republic's support for Ukraine, which Prague has been arming with tanks, rocket launchers, helicopters, artillery shells and other military hardware since its war with Russia began last year. Meanwhile, a small propeller plane was nearing the end of its 400-kilometer trip between Manaus, the capital of Amazonas state, and the remote jungle town of Barcelos when it went down. Officials said all those on board, 12 passengers and 2 crew, died in the crash. An investigation has been launched into the cause of the incident, and Amazonas State Security Secretary Vinicius Almeida said initial information suggested the plane crashed after running out of runway when it descended into Barcelos during heavy rain and low visibility. There seems to be no end in waiting for passports by desperate Sudanese trying to flee the country. Marwa Umar was one of hundreds who lined up at dawn to try to get passports in Port Sudan. 15 hours later, she still had nothing to show for it. 1 million people have crossed Sudan's border since April, fleeing the devastating war between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, according to the United Nations. Since the authorities inaugurated a new passport office in the eastern city of Port Sudan in late August, hundreds of people have lined up all day and every day. They are desperate to obtain paperwork that will allow them to leave Sudan's deadly war behind. The World Court at The Hague will, on the 18th of September, commence hearing on a case centered around claims by Moscow that its invasion of Ukraine was done to prevent genocide. Kulu Mohammed tells us more.
Russia and Ukraine will square off tomorrow, only that this time not in the front lines, but before the International Court of Justice, in a case involving claims by Russia that its invasion of Ukraine is devoid of genocidal tendencies. Ukraine brought the case to the United Nations highest court just days after the Russian invasion of February 24th last year. Kyiv argues that Russia is abusing international law in its claims that the invasion was justified to prevent an alleged genocide in eastern Ukraine. In more than a year now, Russia and Ukraine has had it tough and deadly as daily both countries work militarily to subdue one another in a war believed to have had destructive outcome. No fewer than hundreds of civilians have been killed and displaced, as well as destruction of infrastructure that will cost billions in dollars to restore and many years to build. Global calls have failed to end the war, even though friends of Ukraine have now resolved to support Ukraine with ammunition to battle favorably against Russia in the front line. Kulu Mohammed, NTA News.
On the sidelines of the G7 7 plus China Leaders Summit, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, has signed a memorandum of understanding on behalf of the federal government with Cuba on food security and agricultural advancement. The signing ceremony took place at the Ministry of Agriculture of Cuba, underlining Nigeria's demographic advantage, vast land resources, immense agricultural potential, and promoting President Bola Tinubu's vision for food and nutrition security. Senator Kyari extended a hand of partnership to his Cuban counterparts with a focus on vital areas such as biofortification of agricultural produce, improvement of agricultural seeds and seedlings, agricultural mechanization, cutting-edge technologies for increased yields, and the reduction of harvest losses. The minister also said he is keenly interested in collaborating with Cuba in the domains of poultry, livestock, and fisheries. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the nomination of Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim to serve as the Minister of Youth, pending her confirmation by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The President has further approved the nomination of Mr. Ayodele Olawande to serve as the Minister of State for Youth, pending his confirmation by the Senate. Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim is a young medical doctor and most recently served as the President of the Progressive Young Women Forum. She has also served as the Senior Special Assistant to the Kwara State Governor on Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Mr. Ayodele Olawande is a community development expert and youth leader in the governing All Progressives Congress. He recently served in the office of the Special Advisor to the President on Innovation from 2019 to 2023. President Tinubu calls on them to ensure that they consistently reflect the dynamism, innovative zeal, and unyielding productivity that are synonymous with the young people of Nigeria as they discharge their duties. Collaboration between the Ministry of Niger Delta Developments, the Niger Delta Development Commission, and all state governors in the Niger Delta region is a tested recipe to fast-track developments in the region. These are the words of the Minister Niger Delta Development, Abubakar Momo, during his familiarization tour and inspection of projects in Cross River State. Paul Abel reports.
Having been sworn into office a few weeks ago, and with the passion to make a difference in the Niger Delta region, the minister is embarking on this visit to ascertain the projects undertaken by the ministry before implementation of policies. But the minister must first visit the Cross River State Governor, represented by his deputy, where they both agreed on the dilapidated nature of the East-West Road, Calabar-Uyo Road, challenges of poverty, infrastructural decay, and the needs to return the supervision of construction work on these two major roads from the Ministry of Works to that of the Niger Delta Development.
Let us come together, all the ministers in the Niger Delta, the governors and the political leaders. I believe if all this group of persons come together with one voice, there's no doubt, no way that this cannot be better than they are today.
This Calabar-Uyo Road, we have been crying about it for the past 7 to 8 years. It has been this bad, if I remember correctly. In fact, what you see today is even better because there were some remedial works that were being done in certain very bad area.
With the courtesy call over, the minister and his entourage embarked on inspection to the 1.9 kilometer internal road project at Akamko community, where he also engaged the contractors on the unfinished part of the job. The minister was also at the University of Calabar, where the ministry constructed internal roads, solar street lights, multi-purpose town hall, among others.
Our vision is to make sure that we work on this road, and I have no doubt that our principal, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is one person that is very much desirous to focus on Niger Delta. That's why the name of Niger Delta Affair has been transformed to Niger Delta Development.
The team was also at the ministry office in Calabar, which was inaugurated earlier this year. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
The federal government remains resolute towards seeing to the success of the ongoing construction of the Kaduna-Zaria-Kano double-track standard gauge rail project. Minister of Transportation Saidu Ahmad Al-Khali gave the determination while inspecting the Makarfi axis of the project that is dear to the people of both Kaduna and Kano states. Aminu Umar reports.
Sleeper placement at the construction site along Makarfi axis of the Kaduna-Zaria-Kano double-track standard gauge rail project. The project, which commenced in 2021, scheduled to be completed in 36 months as single track and later reviewed to double track, now stands at 22%, with track laying at about 14 kilometers out of the 89 kilometers from Makarfi to Kano. Minister of Transportation Saidu Ahmad Al-Kali, who received progress report as part of his inspection mission to the site, assured to do all it takes to ensure the project is timely and successfully delivered.
As we stand here, we start raising some little observations on the clips they are using. We ask them to use anti-theft clips so that they cannot be easily removed.
Apart from track laying, earth and civil engineering work is going on steadily along the axis inspected, with hundreds of Nigerians earning a living at the construction sites. In Kano, Aminu Umar, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. We'll have more reports after this break. Stay with us.
The pressure and the demand and lamentation, but you understand it much better. You are the one who understands the labor pain. That is only after that pain you see the smile of a child that you are relieved and forget the pain completely. And that's what we are going through economically. You are the one who can educate better the public to understand that we have to go through this. Cartel and thieves have been raping us and fleecing this country before now. You say enough is enough. We are taking our country back.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk.
And to watch NTA International in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, use the following satellite parameters.
You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Thanks for staying with NTA International. Now, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Bako-Lalong, has again invited the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, for another meeting over its planned indefinite strike. The Minister, who directed the Department of Trade Unions Services and Industrial Relations to convene a meeting with the leadership of the NLC for Monday, 18th September, said it was important that the unions sit with government to resolve all pending matters to avert further disruption to the economy. The Minister, in a statement issued by the Director Information, Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, Olajide Oshundun, said the administration of President Bola Tinubu will always engage the organised labour and respond to its concerns after due consultation and negotiations in order to guarantee industrial harmony, which is critical to the attainment of the Renewed Hope agenda. It will be recalled that the Minister had invited the two labour centres for talks to avert the two-day strike held between 5th and 6th September, but only the TUC showed up for the meeting. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has intercepted drug trafficking attempts at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, seizing methamphetamine and skunk concealed in various items. In Imo State, they rescued 5 pregnant teenage girls suspected to have been victims of child trafficking, while they handed them over to NAPTIP for further investigation. Arrests were made in Kogi and Ogun states for cannabis possession and codeine-based syrup in Abuja. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Segun Odeyemi received a 5-year sentence for trafficking skunk. What would be your impression if your fundamental human rights are infringed upon by someone or being denied something due to you as a right? In a modern society, the rule of the fist is alien to the law. In spite of the provisions of the law protecting these rights, some people are being reported to use the force of arms or position to cheat others, despite the existence of the concept that might is not always right. In this report, Olabode Arewa examines the rule of law in Nigeria as a tool for instilling good governance and justice for both the leaders and the led.
Looks like a scene from a movie, but this is no film set. It is one of the many incidents when street gangs in communities across the country disrupt the peace, causing unrest, thereby infringing on the rule of law. From time to time, the media space in Nigeria gets awash with stories of such disturbances described by law enforcement agencies as threats to democratic norms and good governance.
If you look at our country today and you want to do a quick crime map of Nigeria, you'll discover that virtually every geopolitical zone is challenged by acts of criminality.
It is not in dispute that the supreme law guiding the lifestyle of all Nigerians is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As such, its tenets and that of subsidiary laws are expected to regulate public and private behavior, which experts in societal studies say makes those who flout the laws of a country to be liable to sanctions and denial of the advantages enjoyed by other citizens.
If the government should govern by the law, what is provided in our constitution and our statutes, adhere strictly to them, then there will be peace. And on the side of the citizenry, if we adhere to the rule of law, what the law provides for, then we will equally have peace. The level of impunity in Nigeria is unprecedented.
In 2021, the International Rule of Law Index purportedly ranked Nigeria as 121 out of 139 countries on the scale of its obedience to the rule of law. Civil society organizations have traced this to deliberate alleged infractions by those they described as people who misuse positions of privilege or force to achieve their aims. By 2022, however, Nigeria moved up 3 steps on the same index, attributed to deliberate actions by stakeholders in the justice and law enforcement sectors to walk the talk. As proof of Nigeria's readiness to adopt progressive habits used by developed countries to sustain their society, legal experts advocate accountability, openness, and impartiality as necessary tools to stabilize the ship of the Nigerian states. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Professionals under the Institute of Corporate Administration are proposing a knowledge-driven and innovative approach in the strategic implementation of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Tokwe Alabi reports.
Unlocking potentials of the 31st ranked economy in the world with a growing gross domestic product of about 27% is deepening discussion with solutions in sight by these professionals. They are corporate administrators who believe the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu is a sure way to ending the dark days of Nigeria economy and restoring hope in oil and non-oil sectors through knowledge-driven innovative strategies as the key to managing the country's challenges for desired results.
From the agricultural age to the industrial age, to the information age and now in the innovation age. Many are yet to understand it. And this is the age where you need a lot of creativity, looking for disruptive way of doing things instead of recycling the old practices.
If this camera that you are using for us now, if it's not an innovative one, nobody gonna mind you. So innovation, make goods and services to sell. And the awakening is now.
Apart from welcoming new members to wield the doorknob faster, the professionals are also determined in the recovery of lost times and building a country where surplus and purchasing power will wear human face and redefine economy of the day.
Now realizing that a group like this actually took notice of all those stages of trying to go into new things and trying them out and seeing that they are bringing out good results.
It's less for us now to go back to various institutions, organizations, to bring out a new idea that will promote the various parastatals that will better the country Nigeria.
We are going to SME in my company, in my organization, so that we can help them to not just giving them the money. Somebody has to give them the ideas of how they use this money.
This lecture is coming at a time when Nigeria is hopeful of driving operational excellence through innovative strategies for desired and optimal results. In Abuja, Tokpe Alabi, NTA News.
And up next is Monday's weather prospects for Nigerian cities and other parts of the world. And that's the news on NTA International. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye.